Welcome to Taste Different Gaming News. What's on the news today? Capcom thinks you got a little too much money in your wallet. Capcom President thinks game prices are too low. Yeah, that's funny. Capcom President Hiroshiro, I can't pronounce his last name, Sugimoto, claims that the retail price of video games is currently too low. According to a report from Nikkei, this is through a translation, during a Tokyo Game Show in 2023, Sugimoto said that development costs for video games have become too high. Development costs are about 100 times higher than during the Famicom era. But software prices have not gone up that much, he explained. Additionally, he claimed that there needs to be pay raises, saying considering the fact that wages are rising in the industry as a whole, I think raising unit prices is a healthy option for business. Sugimoto also went on to claim that a slow economy wouldn't have a big impact on video game prices either. Just because there's a recession doesn't mean you won't go to the movie theater or go to your favorite artist's concert. High quality games will continue to sell, he said. Publishers have started charging $70 here lately. The previous norm was 60, used to be 50 years before that. Even Nintendo, who was probably the latest to jump into the $70 game with Zelda, I don't think he quite grasped what $70 is, or 60 even. It's a really aggravating, but it's honest as well, though. I mean, yes, development costs have gone up since the Famicom released. The Famicom, Nick, is what, 35 years old? So yeah, it's gonna come out to a lot higher number because of just life. I mean, things are not what they were 35 years ago. I didn't pay 94 cents in gas.
They came out in 83, so it's a little more than that.
Yeah, so 83, that's 40.
41?
40, yeah, almost 41 years. So I understand what he's saying to a point, but they've also got to understand, you increased your cost to develop a game.
40 years, but close enough.
Well, yeah, depending on when in 83. But I won't dive in too much too soon because I want Nick to kind of go first here. But I understand what he's saying, but I also don't think he quite grasped the other end of the gaming spectrum. So, Nick, what do you think? Do you feel that the president of Capcom needs more?
Sounds like a him problem. Yeah, I mean, now, granted, Capcom games have not gone up. They have stayed at $60 currently. So, give one to Capcom for keeping it still at the same price it had been for however long it's been at $60. And I will give Capcom a second boon as well, is that they've been hitting some bangers out of the park with their recent releases. Except for Exoprimal, we won't talk about that one, but Street Fighter 6, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 8, some of the other games that I can't think of at the moment that they've been whipping out here. Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, Dragon's Dogma 2 is not out yet, but that one might be their first $70 game, possibly. But these other games have been bangers, right? And the thing about paying $70 for me is I don't like it, and paying $70 is hard to do, especially for the consumer. Yes, development prices have gone up, but for the consumer, not much since the Famicom days have that gone up for the consumer, as much gone up for the consumer. So, it's still harder for the consumer to go out and pay it, and games are not lacking even at the $70 price point. Games are still being purchased and things like that. But I feel like if developers and publishers start going up more and more, $80, $90, $100 a game, regardless of how much it costs to create a game, you're going to see a lot less purchases, right? Purchases are going to start dropping as the prices go up, because it's going to get to the point where consumers just can't afford it, right? Consumers might buy, I don't know, the average gamer might buy 10 games a year, let's say. But if prices get around like $90, $90, close to $100 every game, I'm not talking about special editions because they're already there with like special editions and stuff, right? But I'm just talking about just the base game being that. You might see a drop where those consumers only buy, 4 to 5, about half of what they used to buy before, because it's just getting too expensive for them. And it's already at $60. It's already, or at $70. I'm sorry. It's already getting too expensive. Like, before, I mean, at $60, it was still hard, but it was a little, I know it's only a $10 difference, but it all adds up, right? And so, before I would buy, I know my game purchasing has, I feel like it's gone down. Like I as far as full price, right? I look for a lot more sales, wait for games to get onto a sale or go into clearance or something like that, or find a good bargain more often, or hope that it comes out at Game Pass at some point, or the PlayStation Plus thing, or something to that effect at some point, where I don't have to go out and purchase it. Right now, one thing also is, as far as like paying $70, as much as I don't like to pay $70, I'm not too upset if the game is really freaking good, right? If the game comes out and it's exceptional, then I feel like, yes, $70 is a little steep in my wallet, but it was worth it. But if we keep getting games that a lot of developers are making nowadays where it's half broken and doesn't work, and they want to charge you $70 for it, that's where I have a problem. Now, Capcom hasn't had that problem, right? Like I said, Capcom's been hitting it out of the park recently. Exo Primal's not a hit out of the park, but everything else they've done has been a hit out of the, is knocked out of the park. So, yeah, I mean, development costs have gone up, sure. But I think these companies, I don't know. I mean, it's not all about, for games, it's not all about all the bells and whistles. You can make a great game and not spend an arm and a leg on it. You don't need, like, I don't think for gamers, unlike, movies might be one thing where you have to have all that production value, right? Because you got to fit this bombastic thing into 2 hours, right? Whereas games, they can be 10, 15, 20, 30 hours long. There is a lot of development that goes into that, but you don't have to create every single time a AAA title, right? That costs a ton of money with voice acting and mocapping and, all this crap, So I don't know, maybe companies need to find other ways of fitting the bill, or maybe not, shooting for the stars with every single game they release. I don't know. I mean, and I'm not saying that companies shouldn't make these games, these AAA games and stuff like that. I was just saying, like, maybe it's not just the consumer that needs to take the hit, right? Maybe companies could find other ways to circumvent the development costs of these titles without just saying the consumer will handle it, right? That's all I'm saying. What do you think?
No, you're not wrong. That's what they should be doing. It's I love games. I'm a gamer, always been a gamer. But when they raised the price from 50 to 60, I was pretty ass chapped. Don't get me wrong. And they've stuck to the 60 for quite a while. I mean, I think it was early 2000s, they went up to the 60s. So early mid 2000s, I can't remember. It's somewhere in there, though. They went from the 50s to the 60s. And I was pretty mad about it. But I also understood because, I mean, just everything costs more eventually. It's just the way it is. But we're at the point in life that it's not just that simple. I can just drop another $10 here, $10 there. I mean, if you think about it, between me and you, Nick, or just me alone, on average, as far as new games, I buy about 20 to 24 a year. New games. Now, that doesn't include the stuff I buy on sale, and I'm trying to rebuild my collection, from things I've loved. Money adds up. And I agree with you that they have to find better ways to deal with production. Some of our favorite games over the last 3 years have not been big, overproduced Brad Pitt's in every game. Margot Robbie's doing the voice acting. Oh my God, we got to have Megan Fox do our voice acting. Ugh, God, she's terrible. But our favorite games have been ones that did not need a 20-year development cycle at $100 billion. 13 Sentinels, mind-blowingly good. Doki Doki Literature Club. We played it on a joke and fell in love with it. A Way Out. It Takes Two. I mean, these are smaller developers that have made some amazing games. The voice acting and the characters of It Takes Two alone were just spot on, and they spent nowhere near the money that you would for an Assassin's Creed or for Resident Evil 4, which is the latest Capcom besides Exoprimal, which was Resident Evil 4 was fantastic. I don't know what the development was on it, but I don't need a mind-blowing AAA studio game that fails and is broken. What I need is a solid game that works, that's fun, that's all the good stuff that we need. I think Capcom should look at what the president said and go, all right, what is it that certain developers make that are just so beloved? And what can we do to make those at a lower cost? I mean, it's very simple. When you find passionate people, you're going to get better quality. When you find passionate people, you're going to have better games. And I think they got to make sure that they have those people making their games. And they got to listen to those people, because that's when you get the really good stuff. A lot of game companies, they don't listen to people because, all right, well, we made it this far, we'll just do things my way. No, listen to your developers. Listen to the people behind those computer screens. Let them, give you the ideas and stuff like that. Listen to them, and I guarantee you'll save money. I want to see more games that are quality, more games that are just fun. Plain and simple. I don't need Assassin's Creed all the time. I don't need Call of Duty all the time. I just want fun. Plain and simple. Doesn't matter what type of art style you use, what type of gameplay you use, as long as it's fun. Capcom makes fun games, but I understand that development costs have risen, and everybody wants to make the banger. Everybody wants that $10 billion sales, 50 trillion copies sold, GTA 5 for the last 20 goddamn years. They all want that. Fully understand it, but we just want good games. Plain and simple. They don't have to be huge. They just have to be good. And Resident Evil 4, by the way, I did start playing the Separate Ways DLC, and I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, cost of everything have gone up, right? I mean, cost of entertainment and the cost of everything else. And for the consumer, it's just getting harder and harder, right? for the average consumer, I should say. Costs of everything have gone up, and companies keep raising prices, and it's hard for the average consumer to keep up with these things. And it's not just gaming, it's everything. So really, I think if the cost of living were to raise up to where the cost of everything else is at, then you could raise your prices to $70, $80 and people would be like, that's cool. Right? Because you're making like 4 times as much as you make today, right? And you can live instead of making it from paycheck to paycheck, or not knowing if you're going to be able to eat the next day, or whatever the case may be. Or I need to do X, but I don't have enough money for X, whatever X is, right? Oil change, or whatever it is that you need. So yeah, I mean, those things have to, yes, development costs have gone up, things have gone up, a lot of things have come up, and for the consumer to take the brunt of that by just raising the prices of software, just makes it a lot harder for the consumer. And I think in the end, depending on how high they go, for these companies, it's going to get a lot more difficult, because consumers are going to start slowing down on their purchasing power.
Yep. I think the best thing that president could do is take a pay cut. There, I just saved you guys a bunch of money. I'm freaking Geico. So, Nick, you got anything else before we bash the Exo Primal out of Capcom? All right. Well, as our good buddy Pat always says, you made it to the end. How about smashing that like button, subscribe button, the notifications? Tell your friends, tell your family. What do you think of Capcom? What do you think of the president's comments? Do you think you should pay $80? Do you think you should pay $90? I don't, but that's just me. Let me know what you think. And then let me know what you think about Resident Evil 4, because I'm playing the DLC right now and I'm loving it. So, but until next time, see ya.